lesson, we're taking a look at how you can expand your pentatonic skills using something I've heard referred to as the extended pentatonic scale. This is where we combine the most finger-friendly parts of multiple patterns to increase the range of the notes that you can play over and flow more freely around the fretboard, hopefully as I was able to show in the demo at the start of the video. This is part of my Minor Pentatonic series, which you can find a link to in the description, as well as my Patreon page where you can download diagrams and guitar tabs for all the material covered in these lessons. I would advise making sure you're comfortable with the 5 minor pentatonic patterns first, so you might want to check out those lessons as well. But regarding these extended scales, we've got 2 main patterns to learn. The first one links together patterns 5, 1 and 2 of the minor pentatonic. We'll see how all that works in just a sec. The other one, which I'll cover in a following lesson, links together patterns 3, 4 and 5, but we're going to start with that first extended pentatonic scale, so let's dive in and take a look. So I'm going to teach these patterns in the key of A, so we're starting with A minor pentatonic pattern 1, which you should be familiar with. And the first step we're going to take is to link patterns 1 and 2 together. Now we're going to do this by sliding up on the G string. You can transition between these patterns using other strings, but we're going to start with G string because it's quite useful, but you should try and diversify once you're comfortable with this one. But for now, we're going to play up pattern 1 from the very bottom, just as you normally would, until we get to that G string. We're still going to use the first finger on the 5th fret, playing the lower note. But rather than use the 3rd finger on the 7th fret, we're going to swap and stretch over the 2nd finger instead. We're going to pick the 2nd finger note on the 7th fret and slide up 2 frets to the 9th fret. So far we've got this, starting from the bottom of pattern 1, up to G string, stretch the 2nd finger and slide up. We're now positioned in pattern 2 of the pentatonic scale, and we've got 1st and 3rd fingers lined up with 8th and 10th frets on the top 2 strings to finish off the pattern. Hopefully you recognise that little house shape at the top of pattern 2. So when you do the little slide up with 2nd finger, then we're positioned at the top of the house shape with all the fingers lined up with the right frets. So if we just run through all of that again, starting from the bottom of pattern 1, ascend up to G string, bring the 2nd finger over, slide up and then finish off with 1st and 3rd. If we now play the same pattern but descending, we're going to start with the house shape in pattern 2. But when we get to the G string, it's a little bit more ideal now to squeeze the hand in and use the 3rd finger to play that 9th fret. Might feel a little bit awkward at first, but if we use the 3rd finger and slide down 2 frets to the 7th fret, we're now perfectly positioned to finish off in pattern 1 and finish descending the scale. If we descend using the 2nd finger on the G, we end up with this kind of awkward backward stretch to the 1st finger, which in my opinion isn't quite as ideal, so I would advocate using 2nd finger on the way up and 3rd finger for the slide on the way down. You don't have to use those finger combinations, but it's what I would advise for the smoothest transition into each pattern. So at this point you probably want to practice linking patterns 1 and 2 together and ascending and descending the full cycle like this. And as an extra little bonus, when you get to the top of pattern 2, you can slide up another 2 frets and just incorporate an extra note from pattern 3 if you like. I did that in the demo at the start just to increase the range of the patterns that you're playing. And then once again, if we descend, we're sliding back down into pattern 2, 3rd finger slide, and descend pattern 1. Now we're going to work on linking together patterns 1 and 5, so rather than starting with the 1st finger here on the root note of pattern 1, we're going to shift that 1st finger down to the 3rd fret, which is actually the lowest note in pattern 5. Start with that note, and then 3rd finger is going to play the root note now. But this is still pattern 5, 1st finger then plays the 3rd fret on the A string, and here's where we transition back into pattern 1. 3rd finger goes down on 5th fret, slides up 2 frets. Now we're into pattern 1 and you would ascend as normal. So once again, we're starting on the 3rd fret down in pattern 5, playing the first 2 strings in pattern 5, sliding up on the A string, up into pattern 1. If I just play up to the root note there, and then if I'm descending, same thing in the opposite direction. So I'm on the middle root note in pattern 1, I'm going to descend the scale, I'm going to do 3rd finger on the 7th fret on the A string, slide down 2 frets, that gets me into the bottom of pattern 5, and then I've got 1st finger, 3rd finger, 1st finger on the very bottom, and then just for a bit of resolution, you can go back to the 3rd finger to end on that root note. So descending, that would be... Or if you feel more comfortable, you can do a downward slide with the 1st finger as well. So that would be 3rd, 1st, 3rd, 1st, slide, 3rd, 1st, 3rd. Some people prefer sliding with the 1st, some people with the 3rd. Try them both and see which one you prefer. So far we've looked at linking patterns 1 and 2 as well as patterns 1 and 5 together separately. So to access the full range of the scale, we're just going to combine those transitions between the different patterns. So we're going to start right down the bottom in pattern 5 with 1st finger on the 3rd fret, and we're going to play the first 2 strings of pattern 5 as we've just seen. So we're going to go 3rd fret, 5th, 3rd, 5th, slide 5th fret up to 7th fret to get into pattern 1, continue to send pattern 1 until the G string, 1st finger plays the 5th fret, 2nd finger reaches over and plays the 7th fret, sliding up to 9th, and then we finish off with 1st and 3rd fingers at the top of the house shape of pattern 2. And remember, you can also slide up another 2 frets for that extra 12th fret note in pattern 3. So that full ascending scale, we've got pattern 5, slide up into pattern 1, then up into pattern 2, and then if you like, a little bit of pattern 3, and then as we descend, we're going to slide down, back into pattern 2, descend pattern 2, use 3rd finger to come in and play at the top of the house shape, slide down into pattern 1, then 3rd finger again, sliding into pattern 5, and you can end on the root note on that 5th fret low E. So that gives you the full scale cycle, which goes between patterns 5, 1 and 2 mainly, but with that extra little pattern 3 note if you want. So if I just play that in full, we're going pattern 5, pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3, and then as we descend, we're going back to pattern 2, pattern 1, pattern 5, and ending on the root note. And that's how you link all of those patterns together nice and seamlessly. And final thing for this lesson, you might want to start trying to incorporate some legato movements into these scales. So basically using hammer-ons and pull-offs anywhere you can for even smoother transitions between the patterns. So if I go full legato on this one, we can start with a hammer-on on the bottom string in pattern 5. Then on the A string, we can go hammer, then slide. Then as we ascend pattern 1, we can go hammer. Then on the G string again, we can go hammer, slide. Then hammer on B string. Then hammer, slide on top string. And then the reverse of that, we're going to do slides and pull-offs. So slide down, pull off on B string as well. Pick the G, slide down, pull off in pattern 1. Pull off on D string, then pull off and slide on the A string, or you can slide then pull off. Remember, you've got those 2 options, and then at the very end, another pull off on the bottom string, and then either pick the root note or just hammer the 3rd finger back down. So once more, if I just run through all of that, I'm going hammer, hammer, slide, hammer, hammer, slide, hammer, hammer, slide. So pretty repetitive pattern there. And then if we descend, we're going slide, pull off, slide, pull off, slide, pull off, and then pull off, and then the root note. And if I just play that through for you without talking over the top of it. So you can get some pretty quick and smooth transitions using all of these methods. So there you have the first half of the extended pentatonic scale. We'll be covering the second half in the next video, but make sure you're comfortable with this one first. Make sure you can cycle up and down the scale and you understand how it works in terms of linking all the patterns together. Try it out in different keys and, incorporating it into your own improv, and also keep an eye out for how the players you admire use these concepts so you can analyze what they do and start incorporating those methods into your own playing to grow as a player yourself as well. Remember, you can find links for the full Minor Pentatonic playlist in the description, as well as my Patreon page where you can download diagrams and guitar tabs for all the material covered. Be sure to subscribe for more lessons, and I'd really appreciate you giving the video a like if you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next video for part 2.